everyone. I'm CMSWire reporter Jennifer Torres, and this is CMO Circle. Each episode, we sit down with a different CMO for a little Q&A to get to know them and their role a little better. Today, I'm very excited to have as our guest Susan Beerman, Chief Marketing Officer at Contentstack. Hi, Susan. Welcome.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for inviting me today. Really looking forward to talking to you.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here, and we'll get right to it. First question I'd like to start with is just to ask you a little bit more about your path to becoming a CMO. How did you get into the marketing field in the first place?
Well, I didn't start here, that's for sure. So fresh out of school, I actually went into sales, and I sold for IBM for about 10 years. And that's where I really got my start in the real world in terms of my career. And after that, I realized, I thought I was pretty good at it. I made my quota, but I just didn't love it. It wasn't quite where I thought my heart was. So I made a conscious decision to move into marketing because, as all salespeople, you all think you know how to do marketing. And of course I didn't, and it was a rude awakening. I convinced Microsoft to hire me into a marketing role without any real marketing experience.
Oh,
But
wow, that's great.
yeah, and it was really, really great. In fact, the gentleman who hired me, he was an ex-IBMer as well. So we had a connection and an affinity because we had similar backgrounds. But anyway, I was there for about 6 years, and it was really where I learned marketing. I made a point to move around, into a lot of different roles because I was just a sponge trying to learn as much as I could about all aspects of marketing. And I'm really grateful to Microsoft for having that opportunity. And it was really my training ground. And I really felt like I found my tribe, and I've stuck with marketing ever since, and I've never looked back.
Well, that's great. Well, for someone who's looking to get into the field of marketing, and say like someone who's just starting out and one day they would like to become a CMO, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think, when I look at being a CMO and all the myriad of responsibilities and attributes to be successful, sort of start there, and then I'll get to the advice if that's okay. But I think, a CMO, you have to really, today have depth and breadth of knowledge across what recruiters always refer to as a full marketing stack. So I recently joined Contentstack, and so I talked to quite a few companies and recruiters during that time, and they're like, we're looking for a full stack CMO, which really, in the lingo there means that they possess a strong demand generation background, a strong brand background, product marketing, and analytics. And so I think it's important to make some lateral moves along the way to gain experience across the spectrum of all the marketing disciplines. I think the next thing that's critically important is if you want to get to the C level, you have to hang with the C-suite, and you have to be first and foremost a business person. So, I think that I've become I'm a business person first who happens to specialize in marketing. So kind of operating from that lens. So always keeping your eye on, what is the financials? What's the market? What's really, what do our investors care about? And what does my CEO and CFO care about? And making sure you're really aligned and you're being a good business partner, of course, with an expertise in marketing. So I think that, I would encourage people, don't just focus on marketing, but focus on understanding the financials and all the different aspects that make you a good business person as well is critically important. And then I think, also you have to have a relentless focus on customers. You can't be an ivory tower marketer who just, sits there and looks internally. So really looking outward to what's going on in the market and talking to customers and meeting with them, picking the salespeople's brains as to what's going on in what I call the real world. I mean, by the nature of our job, we're somewhat removed from the day-to-day customer interaction unless we make a point to really incorporate that into our days and our weeks. So, as much interaction and external focus you can have, the better, prepared you're going to be. And then, of course, there's leadership, right? You have to be a strong leader. And so getting those experiences, in your career starting with being a first line manager and so on and so forth. And you don't get there, I don't think, alone. I think it's finding some really good mentors, or executive coaches, or there's all sorts of great learnings and resources out there. And maybe it's just an informal mentor, people who can really give you feedback so that you can get better, and seeking that out, and listening to it, and helping you to become a better leader.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you. How do you stay on top of industry trends to ensure that your marketing strategies are relevant and effective?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that, there's a myriad of ways, right? It's reading the news, it's reading CMSWire, it's looking at the analysts and what are they saying. It's looking at the business press too, what's going on and in the market, in the economy. I mean, clearly we're in that interesting economy time. It seems like every year over the last several years, there's been some sort of interesting wrinkle that we have to deal with. And so you have to be able to absorb that and pivot it. And of course, back to the customers, looking at how spending time with customers and what are their pain points, and what successes are they having, or where can we help them. I think at the end of the day, no one wants to be sold. They want to, they're looking for solutions to problems, or solutions to help them explore new opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is the most rewarding part of your job as CMO?
Oh, I love so much about it. I think what I, one of the things I love about it is it's so right brain and left brain. So I think that I have a real creative side that marketing really enables me to tap into, but I also love the analytics side, and really understanding, if I do this, I will be able to drive this sort of business, and constantly looking for ways to evaluate how we're doing, and improve over time, and just creating a sort of a culture of continuous improvement. I mean, we could do something today and maybe rate it an A, but there's always a way to maybe make it an A plus next time. So I think it's that sort of that experimentation and challenge to like say, how can I be even better tomorrow? And then of course it's just the people. I love my team. I love working with them. I love waking up and collaborating with them. That gives me great energy and great joy.
That's great. Well, we're up to the last question. How do you measure the success of your marketing efforts, and how do you use that information to continuously improve?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that the number one measure of success, and this is going to sound maybe lofty, but I think we have to be really mired in it, and that is, are we driving revenue?
Mm-hmm.
And clearly there's a ton of marketing metrics beneath that to ensure that we get there. But at the end of the day, I can't do a victory dance to say, oh, we hit our MQL goal, or we hit our lead goal. And if we're not closing enough business, sales looks at you, like you're tone deaf. So I think it's really critical that we're always have our eye on the revenue, and then clearly the pipeline, and what are our conversion rates, and what are our churn rates. We want to obviously minimize churn rates. We want to increase our conversion rates. And so again, looking at the things that we do, and what is giving us really the pipeline and the conversion rates we'd expect that ultimately turn into revenue. And then what isn't working, so that we can fine tune that. And I think it's looking at those numbers regularly. I mean, I'm like obsessed with my dashboards, and I'm constantly refreshing them, particularly when it's the end of a quarter, to see, are we going to make our goal, et cetera. And so it's not the kind of thing where I think you can wait till after the quarter to evaluate. By then, there's nothing you can do about it except look backwards, but to really be in the mix, and really get your team to be doing the same thing, because you can't do it alone.
Right. Well, those are some great answers, Susan. And we've come to the end of our chat, but I want to thank you so much for being with us here today.
Well, thank you again. It was a pleasure meeting you and doing the interview, and I look forward to speaking to you more in the future.
Thank you, Susan. This has been Susan Beerman, Chief Marketing Officer at Contentstack, and I am Jennifer Torres with CMSWire, and this has been CMO Circle. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye-bye.